My name is Rebecca O'Donnell. I was born in the Midwest, raised by Southern parents, and now I live in New York. I'm a writer-artist. Before I wrote Freak, it was kind of basket case loser. You know, I was a very talented person, you know, relatively intelligent, but miserable. I had been, you know, abused and an incest victim as a kid, and that pretty much colored my decision-making as an adult. So I consider myself an insecurity addict. I let insecurity dictate all my adult decisions, which basically screwed up my life. And now that I treat it as an addiction, I'm a lot more fulfilled and a lot happier. I have a year of traumatic amnesia from when I was a child, after my really nice brother was killed in a motorcycle wreck. He died of a head injury, and he was bled white, which means he just basically exploded. And they delivered the twisted, messy motorcycle to my uncle's house, and my dad and I drove out there. I was 8 years old, and my uncle had hosed it down, and I had shorts on. And my dad picked me up and put me on the motorcycle, and he said, "This is what happens when you're not careful." And I just went crazy, just like that. I felt that wet slide on my bare legs, and I thought, is that his blood? And then I don't remember anything for a year after that. So I started going to a therapist for traumatic amnesia, and we started uncovering things. And one of the things she suggested I do was write a journal. So I did that for a couple of days, and I thought, oh God, I'd rather chew glass. This is so boring. So I simply started rambling into the computer. And before I knew it, I had 150 pages. I never wrote it for anybody to ever see it, so I was very honest and brutal. And after a couple of months, my therapist nagged me enough that I agreed to let her read it. And then the next session I went in, she goes, "Are you writing this for publication?" "No, absolutely not." And she goes, "I really think you should consider it. It's very powerful. I think you can help a lot of people with it." Of course, that was, you know, the bait that caught me, you know, because I always loved to help people, and I used to teach art therapy at an abused children's home, and I would use my own past to help these kids. And so I developed it into a book, and that was kind of my aha moment. When you start writing a memoir, you know, you basically have to do your research and everything, and I started putting things into chronological order, which is really weird because you don't... Memory's kind of, you know, a mixed bag of different things, and you don't really have them exactly in order, especially when it comes to trauma. But when I started putting things in order, I could see how one thing led to another, and that this trauma led to that, and this happened right before I tried to kill myself, and I didn't remember that. And so I began to actually be able to look at myself a little bit more objectively, and with a little bit more kindness, because insecurity addicts are just awful to themselves. You know, we just hate that bitch in the mirror. Well, the whole reason I'm doing this kind of stuff is I want to help people. And there are so many brothers and sisters of circumstance out there who've had this kind of horrible background, you know, who've been raped, who've been beaten, who've been abused, who've been put down, you know, everything from emotional to sexual to physical abuse, or all three, you know. And the whole reason that I wrote Freak and that I published it and that I'm doing this kind of thing right now is I want to show that you don't have to be miserable. You can actually choose to be happy. I was as low as you could go. I mean, I tried to kill myself. I just hated everything about myself. I hadn't, you know, even my body image. I hadn't worn any kind of revealing clothes or form-fitting clothes for years, for like a decade. And when I first started doing these little exercises to try and get rid of this self-hatred, I actually thought I was so hideous that if I wore shorts or a sleeveless shirt or something like this, that cars driving by would wreck because they'd be so horrified at the sight of me. And I actually thought that. That is no exaggeration. So I remember I put on a pair of shorty shorts and a fitted sleeveless little top. It was summer. And I went for a walk. And my self-hatred and anxiety was so much I actually threw up in the bushes just by walking. But something amazing happened. Nobody wrecked their car. Nobody said, "Oh my God, what is that thing?" And I began to realize that some of this self-hatred and this imagery was in my own head. And so I want people to read my book and learn from my own dumbass mistakes, basically. You know, see what a train wreck I was, and I'm not anymore. And you don't have to be a train wreck. It takes a lot of work, but you can actually be happy. Helping people. I love helping to smooth out that pain. Because one of the things that I've discovered with people who have had these kind of traumatic backgrounds is we're very empathic. We can recognize pain. We can see when someone's suffering. And I'm actually good at helping alleviate it. And that's the number one thing that I get out of it, is that I'm able to help people. I have people write to me and contact me every day saying that I help them. I've actually had 5 people tell me that Freak helped them not commit suicide, which just blows my mind. I can't believe that anything that I did could actually have that kind of a positive impact, but that's great. I would love that to help as many as possible. Well, one of the things that I would really love to blow the lid off of, and Freak would just be a little microcosm, the way that, Marie Curie said every little bit of knowledge is a candle in the darkness, lighting the way to truth. And that's all my book is. It's a little teeny tiny candle, but it's a little bit of light. I hate misplaced family loyalty. Misplaced family loyalty is one of the reasons that the whole Penn State thing was kept secret for so long. Misplaced family loyalty is what kept me from telling people, because my mom said that would be disloyal to the family. You keep this in the family. Even one of my favorite books, To Kill a Mockingbird, she talks about how these different families would have these terrible secrets. And everybody kept silent because that was family loyalty. You're disloyal if you say, "Daddy's fucking me." You're disloyal to the family if you actually tell anybody that. You're the bad person because you open your mouth, not because you're the one who's ripped apart, who's been bleeding for 2 weeks because of this. So I would love to basically show what a crock of shit that whole mentality is. You want to diagnose a disease, you have to know what the disease is. Once you know the disease, you can figure out a cure. You can do something that will help it, that will get rid of it, that will control it. And the whole insecurity addiction and everything that I have, that so many of these people I know have, is this shame of being something that gave your dad an erection. Oh, what kind of a whore am I? It's got to be me because he doesn't do it with other people. And so, we blame ourselves. When as it's just some disgusting, pedophile who gets off because you're a little kid. And he knows he can control you, or she knows she can control you. So I want to blow the lid off that, at least help a little tiny bit to do that. Everybody has got pain. And there are people who the pain is so overwhelming that they want to kill themselves. And one of the things that people who've never reached a suicidal state say is, oh, that's so selfish. Oh, how awful of you. You know, think of your kids, think of your family. You know, how selfish of you to kill yourself, which is just kind of a stupid thing to say. Because I liken it to, I got a rat gnawing on my face. Okay? I would love to think of you and think of your feelings, but it's really hard to concentrate on anything but the fact that a big rodent is burrowing through your cheek. The trick is kill the rat. And it's tough because he's a chewy little fucker. But you can control him, you can cage him, you can, if you keep at it. Even if you don't believe, if you keep saying words of love to yourself, if you swoop in and you become the knight in shining armor, the soulmate that you've been looking for your whole life, if you say all the words and all the beautiful phrases of love that you dream about at night, that you'll find someone to say that to you. Well, the someone is right here. That someone is right here. Become your own soulmate. And you will not believe, even if, like, I wouldn't even believe when I told myself I love you every day. And every night I'd say, good night, beautiful mind, good night, beautiful body, good night, beautiful spirit. Didn't believe a word of it. Called myself a stupid bitch for doing it. Did not believe a word of it for 6 months. No difference whatsoever. It wasn't working. It wasn't doing anything. But I kept at it. And then one day, I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I just froze. Because I had not looked at my entire face in the mirror for at least 6 years. Because I hated that reflection so much. I do this. I put makeup on one eye like this. I put on the other eye like this. And I put lipstick on like this. So one part of my face was always covered because I couldn't stand the sight of the whole thing. And then one day, 6 months after I started these little silly self-love exercises, I'm brushing my teeth, not even thinking about it, just looking at myself in the mirror. And I just froze. And I looked like a rabid dog because I had all this toothpaste all over my mouth, you know. But I was looking at my whole face. And it looked ugly. And it looked kind of disgusting. But it wasn't hated anymore. And that was kind of, the epiphany moment. Just love yourself. Become your own soulmate. Become your own best friend. Then you'll always have someone watching your back. And you'll always have someone with you who loves you. And it's an amazing thing.